Hello there. This is Sherry Simpson coming to you from Armstrong, British Columbia. I wanted to pop in and talk a little bit about abundance, about going within, about the new moon, and about Mercury going retrograde. All of those things are all connected. So let's chit-chat about that a little bit. So today is March 18 of 2018. And yesterday we had the new moon. It was at 1:11 UK time, 1:11 p.m., so in the afternoon, which was 9:11 Eastern time. And I know most people are not comfortable with 9/11 because of the Twin Towers and all of that happened, but 9/11 is actually a very, very spiritual number. 9 is about endings and celebration and culmination, and 11 is about the double one. It is about going within to find your answers and being guided by spirit to do so. And that would have been 6:11 Pacific time in the morning a.m. So the new moon, which happened on the 17th, so the 17th is an 8-day. It happened at 26 degrees Pisces, which is an 8. An 8 is that infinity sign of abundance and connecting spirit to human ego self, so higher self and human self connecting through the heart center. And on the third month, or in the third month, so March, on the 17th day, so that's an 8, 9, 10, 11 of the 11 universal year of 2018. So it happened on an 11/11 universal day. So lots of 11s and lots of 8s. And so now we have Mercury that's in his pre-shadow phase until, I think it's the 22nd. And yeah, that makes sense because we just had a 22-day yesterday or the day before. We just had a 22-day, and I was thinking about Mercury being retrograde. So when Mercury goes retrograde, it obviously, you've probably heard of this because it's one of those planets people talk about all the time. It messes with our communication. And so how you know what you're dealing with once Mercury goes retrograde is the 2 weeks prior to, in that pre-retrograde phase, the people that come up, the situations that come up, the dreams you have, the feelings you're experiencing, what's going on, those 2 weeks, that pre-shadow phase of Mercury retrograde is what you're going to be dealing with, or what you're getting a redo of, or a healing of, or a completion of when Mercury is retrograde. And so that's where the communication piece comes in. And it also usually requires patience, and usually you want to do maintenance of your technical things going up to the period where Mercury is retrograde. So you want to, do the oil changes on your cars, and clean things and just sweep things out that you don't need. And you want to clean out your mailbox and clear up stuff so that you're clear for the Mercury retrograde and after the retrograde period. And so it's sort of a sweep out. But you also want to back up your hard drives and clean things out, because Mercury can mess with travel plans, communication issues, whether that's technology or actual communication where people are not understanding or misunderstanding each other. It can also mess with all things mechanical, so your cars and airplanes and travel things like that. So you always want to have more patience if you're booking things during the Mercury retrograde. And some people don't want to sign contracts during Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde things, because they're in that retrograde phase and communication can be skewed, then contracts are not necessarily true contracts. So what that means is, if you're trying to sell a house, or if you're trying to write some other contract, you sign it during a Mercury retrograde. Often the contract will have changes later, even though it wouldn't normally. So some people don't like that and some people do. So that's up to you. But the Mercury retrograde stuff is all, and I'm not an astrologer, so I'm just going on what I've heard and all of the things that are connecting and how I feel with the energy. And we're connecting with abundance while Mercury is retrograde, and because we're going within, because Jupiter is in retrograde right now, and we're figuring out how to cultivate our joy within us. And we just had this new moon that had all these eights in it, and we're in the 11 year, and all of these full moons that we've had, and the new moon that we had in last month, I think, they're all have been at 11 degrees. So 11s and 8s are big. So a lot of things are going to be shifting from now to the full moon at the end of the month on March 31st, and into, I think it's the 10th of April, when Mercury actually goes direct. Is it the 10th? I'm not sure if it's the 10th. It might be the 8th. The 10th of July is when Jupiter goes direct. So a lot of things are shifting until we hit that July period that have to do with going within, cultivating joy, being more in tune with our purpose and passion. I'm talking so fast because I'm so excited. So lots of stuff going on in the stars. What I wanted to do is pull 4 cards for you that are connecting how we are feeling physically, what we are thinking mentally, and how our beliefs are being formed and changed, because the retrogrades bring about changes and transformations and redos and reliefs and releases, and also what's going on with us emotionally and what Spirit says. So I actually got a laugh because when I was shuffling the cards earlier, I didn't pull any cards, but the card that was on top was the Chariot card in reverse. And I got a laugh because Cancer has been on my mind in order to do the Cancer video. So I'll definitely do the Cancer video after this. The 4th tarot cards I'm going to pull for you today are from the Vice Versa tarot deck. It's a really cool new tarot deck that I just bought. And the cards actually have pictures on both sides. So this is the Chariot from the front and the Chariot from the back. And what that means is it's showing the law of polarity in each of the cards. And it's showing you either night and day, or 2 different perspectives, or front and back perspective of the same. Whew, what's going on? Let's see. All right, I'm going to check in. Those 2, I think, are going to be our what is going on with the physical. So we got 2 cards for the physical. Let's see what is going on mentally for us. This one. That one too. All right. And what is going on with us emotionally during this time period? So I'm thinking the time period until the end of Mercury going retrograde. Do you see the shoulders? How many of you are carrying around some shoulds that need to be let go of? When your shoulders are way up here and you're feeling kind of tense and you're feeling a little bit nervous, usually you're carrying other people's stuff. That one too, okay. And you're carrying things that no longer belong to you or no longer serve you. And so I'm getting the sense that some of you really need to release the shoulds and allow the neck and the spine and the shoulders to be more open, and allow yourself to really tap into emotions and get out of your logical brain. I'm getting the sense that that card had that, and those 2. All right, we got lots. So physically first. So the physical body is obviously more dense. It's in the 3rd dimension. So this is where we are. We exist in the 3rd dimension. What came up first was the 1 of Wands in reverse. So that makes me think that this new beginning that we just had with the new moon, we really want to cultivate something new. And this would make me think that we are ready, and that we're going to set some stuff on fire, and we're going to start some stuff anew. But because we're going into that Mercury retrograde, this makes me think that we're getting ready to do this, but the fire is actually releasing some of the past so that we could actually cultivate the new. And the 1 arm and the independence makes me think it is us who are going to have to go within ourselves to cultivate and to release. But I get the sense that we're going to be victorious, because even though this is upside down, it makes me think victory, but it makes me think that we need to set fire to the past and get rid of some of those things that have been bothering us in order to allow us to cultivate what it is that we want to bring into the future. And that I believe that that's where this card comes from. And so from this perspective, when it comes to the physical body, I'm definitely feeling spine. So when it comes to your spine is obviously, you can feel spineless if you're not setting your own boundaries. You could feel like you're being walked all over. I'm getting the sense that maybe your back has not been strong, that you haven't been feeling upright, that you haven't been feeling as confident as you want. And so you literally, your spine and your neck have been maybe having some issues, and that can connect in with literally, I'm getting like range of motion. Like if your neck is having issues, say you can't turn to the right. Okay, so what is it on the masculine logical side that you're not supposed to see? But on a feminine side, you can actually turn your head all the way. So it's okay for you to look back and see the emotions, but for some reason maybe you're hesitant to actually look back and see things that you actually did. So perhaps that ties in to some of the things that you're releasing and setting fire to. And I do get the sense that I really want to look over to this side. And so that makes me think it's actually tighter on my left, and I'm willing and wanting to look back there. But this actually makes me think the range of motion is not as great to the right side. Neck and shoulders, I'm feeling are big, and I am also getting the sense of third eye needs to open. You need to be willing to actually go in. So if any of you have been having some headaches or some jaw aches, now that I'm talking about this, I'm feeling a little bit of tightness through the jaw. So maybe that fire is actually angry words were said in the past, but yeah, connecting to communication, or maybe you've said angry things about yourself, and now you really need to sort of like release those and burn the bridge in that sense of what has been going on back there. So allow yourself to tap in while Mercury is retrograde to past communications and how you would deal with things, because angry words are not going to help you. Being in that place of logically playing chess with your brain and going over like 50 different steps or 50 different I should haves, I could haves, this is how I did it in the past, this is how I should do it now, this is how I should do it around so and so, and this is how the eggshells I need to walk around this person. So all of these things, the dog's drinking water, and suddenly I'm feeling very pasty, which makes me think that dehydration may have been an issue physically with some of you, and if that's the case, then make sure you're drinking enough water, because as we are going through all of this release and this altering and this going within process, what we are releasing needs a way to exit. So that could be through sweating, it could be through tears, it could be through punching a punching bag, or however it is that you need to release things. Or it could be, you know, the old-fashioned way where you're just drinking water and allowing your bladder and your kidneys and your bowels to take stuff out for you. So if you're thirsty, make sure that you're drinking some water. If you are having headaches, I get the sense that maybe your salt and sugar balance is off. So most people will, this is interesting, I just had a couple of pieces of toast with cinnamon on it, and most people would put cinnamon and sugar on their toast, but the toast automatically converts to sugar already. So I always put salt, sea salt, or not Epsom salt, sea salt or Himalayan salt on my toast if I'm adding cinnamon to it, because that balances the sugar that the bread is going to come reduce down to. So that is balancing your yin and your yang. So if you haven't been doing that, if you have been getting headaches, then they could be caused by an imbalance of salt and sugar. And I also get the sense that if you are eating salt, you need to be eating Himalayan or natural rock salt or pink salt or sea salt, because when you eat iodized salt, it actually gets stuck in the body and the body doesn't know what to do with it. And then your lymphatics get a little bit weird and then you can't drain things and then you're not releasing things as well. I'm also getting the sense that on a physical nature, some people need to get into the sauna in order to heat stuff up, or get into a hot bath or an Epsom salts bath in order to heat stuff up. I'm also getting the sense that if you're feeling anger through the jaw, or if you're angry through the body, then add some lavender or essential oil or something relaxing to your bath water, and that will help you to release what it is that on a physical nature you're feeling like you're carrying, or you're feeling like you're stressing about. So this card also makes me think of filling your own cup. So this is the 14 card. And I'm going to look up what that means because I don't know this deck as well as I would like to yet. I get the sense that spring is coming. Those look like daffodils to me at her feet. She is barefoot standing in the water. She is grounding herself, connecting to spirit because she's angelic, but she's grounding herself with those red wings. So she's allowing that 8 to come in, because we're working on abundance during this Mercury retrograde. And that means that we're also connecting into being connected to the planet, because if we're not physically connected to the planet and we're in our head playing chess and we're having headaches and we're thinking and thinking and thinking things logically, then we can't manifest into the physical because we're not connected to the physical. So you actually can walk into water. You can actually walk barefoot on the earth, or literally lie on the earth and ask yourself to feel the pulse of the earth under you. But I get the sense that she's tossing the water back and forth because she's actually filling up her own cup in this position. And her third eye is open, so she's inspired by what is coming in, but she's also grounded. So let me see what this message is in the book, in case there's something that is extremely relevant for some of you. I get the sense that that was a yes, because the hair on my arms just did a funny stand-up thing. So this card is Temperance. An angel pours the water of life from one cup to another and back again in endless equilibrium. There's that number 8. Her face is the face of the moon in a hermit card with the disc of illumination on her brow, and that's that opening up to that who you are at a deep soul level and through that third eye. Her austere robe bears the alchemical symbols for 2 of the 3 prime elements, sulfur, which is spirit, and Mercury, which is soul. Mercury's going retrograde, right? Interesting. The third prime element is salt, which I was just talking about, which represents the body in material form. Its absence here suggests that the alchemical process occurring is purely of spirit and soul, though the pronoun she is used above. The angel is androgynous or genderless. The physical body is not a concern here. The alchemical act of tempering a substance transforms and purifies it by bringing it into balance. The angel is tempering the life force itself, pouring from gold to silver, from sun to moon, from active to receptive, from day to night, from logic to intuition. I talked about the law of polarity and what these cards are like, so that's interesting. That comes up as well. There's an infinite variety of associations for the 2 cups, and then pouring back again to achieve balance. The angel asks, where are you out of balance? Or where have you been out of balance? What element needs increase or decrease? So the salt and the sugar that I was just talking about. And what is needed to restore harmony in your soul? So basically you're going within to determine on a physical level, as well as a connection with the higher self, to the human self. What is it that I want? What is it that I need? What is it that I'm carrying that I no longer need? What is it that I would prefer to carry? So I get the sense that if you're carrying the shoulds and you're carrying the logic, then are you carrying the I adores? Are you carrying the I want tos? Are you carrying the love and the harmony and the balance that you could be carrying, rather than choosing whatever you have been choosing to carry in the past? So I know that connected on all 4 levels, but it was meant as the physical card. So when I pulled in the mental card, I ended up getting 2 cards in reverse. So mentally, we're feeling slightly off. One of them looks like it is the King of Cups. And the King of Cups has a cup in one hand, and he looks like he's carrying like a staff on the other. We're ending the season of Pisces right now as we are moving into Aries. So Pisces is the end of the astrological cycle, and Aries is the beginning. So we're starting a brand new cycle on, I think, March 21st. So interesting that he's got a fish around his neck. Everything in this is also about darkness and about connecting, and that makes me think going within. It also makes me think water, because things go deep. So we're going deeply within ourselves. So mentally, if you're not allowing yourself to do this, then it's time to actually shift that logic to be, okay, how can I go within myself? How can I go within myself to heal what is going on with my physical body? Because externally, whatever I've been thinking or doing hasn't been working. And also my mental thoughts, how can I go within? How can I allow myself to be connected to all that is and connected to my own intuition and guidance? There's a lot of green in this card, which makes me think doing this from a heart-centered way. And there's also a lot of blue in this card, and a lot of like indigo, like dark blue rather than light blue, which makes me think literally going into what is it that I want, what is it that I deserve, and logically dropping out of the logic. If the logic has been, I'm not deserving and I'm not worthy, and I have to think it through, and I need to do this on a 12-step chess process to figure out every move, rather than just jumping into your heart. One thing about kings versus queens usually, and I'm thinking of the emperor versus the empress. The empress is the moon in the internal, and the emperor is the sun and the logic and the external. And this particular king makes me think, join them, combine them, go within. And that, again, allows me to connect the 8s of abundance and connectedness with the 11s of going within to solve the stuff that's been going on. Interesting. So when we add the 2 together, the 2 ones together, and the 11, we get 2. And going within is connecting our masculine and our feminine. This is the 2 of Cups, and the 2 of Cups card, I'm just taking a look at this. So this looks like sunset. They're very grounded because they're barefoot again. So that is someone else who is grounding and barefoot in the grass. This is sun, so it's activating the activity within us, like we're actually going to have to do something between the new moon we just had and the full moon that we're experiencing on March 31st, because only thinking about it isn't going to bring us what we want. It's going to allow us to attract a lot of things, but allowing yourself to connect in to what it is that you want and what it is that you want to release and what is in your heart, and then allowing yourself to take the steps towards inspired action, connecting the masculine and feminine within you. I'm getting the sense that that is actually a difficult one for many people, because I kind of get this weird solar plexus squeeze when I think about connecting the masculine and feminine within us. So it's interesting how we have that dance between the masculine and feminine, because if you are male, then a lot of times you've been brought up by society to act very male dominant, to not show your feelings, to not go within, to think very logically, to be very doing. And that has likely served you, but it's not balanced, it's not harmonious, it's not allowing you to thrive in ways that you could, because it's not expressing yourself in full ways. It's as though you're only expressing half of you. And if you're only expressing half of you, then the other half of you is like, what about me? And on the other flip side of that, we're coming out of that sense of women have to be in the kitchen and women have to be a certain way, and a lot of women have actually had to go out and get jobs because in the 40s and 50s and 60s, in those years where they were supposed to be doing all the cooking and the cleaning, well, it doesn't work in society in these days, because a lot of times a couple who has children and who has all of these like car payments and house payments and all of these things that they're paying for, they need two incomes in order to make things work. So women have been tugging their heartstrings on, am I masculine, am I dominant, or am I feminine, am I going within? And so there's a lot of push pull with that. And I get the sense that these two, with the connecting to the higher self and the logical self, and this also, that we're not actually doing this right now, and that we're meant to do it during Mercury retrograde, and that we're meant to do it as the new moon approaches the full moon, as we get there on March 31st, which is a blue moon because it's the second full moon this month in March. And we're also connecting our masculine and our feminine side and balancing them in different ways and allowing them to grow. So we're shining the light on ways where we have not been balanced through our masculine and our feminine, as well as through our logical self and spiritual self. So our third eye connection, our highest self with our human self. So those are definitely balanced. And from that logical mental perspective, if you have beliefs based on society, if you have beliefs based on what your parents determined your role to be, if that doesn't serve you anymore, then make sure that you're setting those things on fire and allowing them to balance the way that you want them to balance in a new way. So you're allowing yourself now to cultivate what it is that you feel is correct for you in terms of connecting your masculine and feminine side, and allowing a dance to flow between those things. So maybe you're ditching those old beliefs that don't serve you, that the husband needs to work out of the home and the wife has to stay home until the kids are a certain age, or whatever it is that your societal I want to say brainwashing has been. And it could be just what you had to do, and now things are changing and what you have to do is not the same, and you're stepping into that place of, okay, now I'm transitioning out of this I have to, because maybe the kids are getting older, or your job has shifted and changed, or maybe you're moved into retirement, and now you're so used to these things being a certain way with your logic and with your masculine and feminine, that you're actually giving yourself the opportunity to figure out how they're going to balance in a new way, and how you're going to ditch those old thoughts and patterns, and how you're actually going to cultivate love and connectedness and harmony within, and how you're going to cultivate this sense of I'm the king of my own domain. I am the ability to connect all that is. I am the ability to go deep within myself. I am the ability to do that from a sense of the masculine, and combining the masculine and feminine together. So ditching those logical societal ways and those old beliefs, and allowing yourself to recreate new ones. So the next part that comes up is the emotional piece. And the emotional piece just tends to be the piece that nobody wants to look at. And this is funny because these all came in reverse as well. So we can tell we're in Mercury retrograde and the Jupiter retrograde, and that the retrogrades are allowing us, or asking us to look at things differently. So from an emotional sense, if you feel like you've been carrying a whole bunch of shoulds on your shoulders, or if you've been carrying a whole bunch of shoulds on your back, then allow yourself to ditch those. Allow yourself to release the shoulds and step into, well, this isn't mine, or this isn't serving me, or what will serve me better. And this also makes me think that because it's upside down, the shoulds are actually keeping you in your head. And if you do allow yourself to get rid of all those timbers and logs that you're carrying around on your shoulders, then you can actually step into the celebration and the new beginning, and you can ditch those things. You can just put them down, or you can carry different things now because you're allowing yourself to carry what you want to carry. So from an emotional perspective, where have you been in your head and not allowing yourself to connect to your emotions? So a lot of us have this sense that sadness and loneliness and misery and anger and depression and fear are all like, oh my God, I shouldn't be feeling these things. I should just be happy all the time. I need to show everyone I'm happy all the time. I don't want people asking me a whole bunch of questions. I don't want to answer anything because I don't want to yell at people because I'm angry, and I don't want to get triggered to cry in front of a bunch of people. I don't want this. I don't want that. So you're logically in your head, you're cutting everything off, and you're creating that line of tension that happens right here that causes the headaches. And then you're not speaking your truth, and your throat gets all wonky. And so allow yourself to just feel what you have been carrying, feel the shoulds you've been carrying around. Allow yourself to get rid of those shoulds so that you can move into the end of this Mercury retrograde period feeling like the communication that you are meant to complete or to resolve or to transition, or the situations or experiences that you've been healing, you're allowing yourself to do it. You're allowing yourself to carry different stuff. You're not going through the same old looping patterns over and over again. And this looks like a hawk on this woman, and it was in reverse. So this is the Queen. So we had, what did we have? We had the King of Cups, and now we have the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is all about abundance. She is extremely abundant in this card, but I get the sense that you need to come into an agreement with yourself about what it is that you're going to allow yourself to get rid of, because you don't want to carry all of those shoulds into your future because they're heavy. So you have this next like 2.5 weeks where you can release all of these things that are no longer serving you. And I get the sense that when you do that, and only if you do that and you allow yourself to do that, that you can create this abundance that you really desire. That you can see things from that hawk's perspective, like seeing things from the hawk. You can allow yourself to be more connected and grounded into nature. You can I want to use the word expect. Why is that coming up? I get the sense that comes up in the solar plexus again for some of you. So you're expecting things to happen, but you're not actually changing anything. So if you have expectations based on your shoulds, then they're not serving you and they need to be released and transposed or transformed in some way. If you have expectations of other people, flip that around and see what kind of expectations you have for yourself, because that may be one reason why you're avoiding your own emotions. If you're expecting other people to do things for you, if you're expecting yourself to be healed because you're doing things outside of yourself, if you're expecting to be able to see things differently, but you're not changing anything in order to see things differently, then you're not going to be grounded. You're not going to be connected. You're not going to see things differently. So can we ditch the expectation? I'm getting the sense that that's tied to obligation, and that's connecting in with my lower jaw for some reason. So perhaps some of you are actually dreaming about things that are angry, or you're feeling obligated, or things that you're expecting to do. You're going to feel guilt coming up if you're feeling a sense of, but if I don't do that anymore, I'll feel guilty because I don't. And I want you to step back into that logic card again for me, because a lot of times what we do out of obligation and don't do out of guilt, the people that we're doing it for don't care. And I don't want to say that in a they don't care about you or something like that, but they just, um, it's not going to matter to the people you are doing those things for if you stop doing them, or if you explain that it's not serving you and it's not serving them. Yeah, I'm getting that sense of, wow, that's like, that's a big thing that needs to shift is um, communication over expectations, obligations, and guilt. That's an interesting triangle that many of you are likely healing over this Mercury retrograde, and it's something that's going to, ooh, that's interesting. Stab in the right shoulder there, so that makes me think that there's a lot of shoulds there, and there's a lot of, but what happens if I almost feel like past life stuff, like somebody actually got shot for not doing something that was expected. So releasing that from your past, releasing it through all past lifetimes, as you release your shoulds and you put them down, and you release the expectations and the obligations and you put them down. I get that that's going to be troublesome for many of you, because that whole confidence area, that whole solar plexus area, again, wants to go. So allow yourself to release what's not serving you, to communicate with yourself. Why are you doing it if it's no longer serving you? Is it serving you to continue doing these things if it's actually harming you, if it's disheartening you? And how can you step into that place of being more empowered, of being more free, of being more balanced and harmonious? It is safe for you to release the things you're feeling obligated to do. That may be an affirmation. It is safe for me to release my obligations. It is safe for me to create new inspired actions and to take new inspired actions. So if you feel like you're getting stuck into the shoulds and stuck into rigidity and stuck into things that people are expecting of you, check in by putting yourself into that observer position. Yeah, obligation is connecting into my right knee as well, which makes me think past generations on your father's side. So there's been a whole string of generations where obligation was one of those things, or expectations, more obligation, I think, through the generations. Things have been expected of you that you've just been doing, that it feels like it's in your DNA or that it's in your identity in order to continue doing those things. That's a choice. You can put them down. You don't need to carry those with you into your future. You can choose to put those things down, because just because it was meant for past generations through the ancestry on your father's side does not mean that you need to carry it forward. If you observe the situation as though you are the hawk, if you observe it from an I am in the present now and I am grounded in 2018, then see if those things are actually still serving you. See if you really feel that you're going to get shot for doing or not doing things that you want to do, or that you are not doing things that are obligated and expected. Send some forgiveness and send some freedom and send some love into your past lives and into your past generations on your father's side is the one that's being triggered at the moment, with the shoulds and with the obligation energy. But I got the sense that many people are not checking in with their heart, and they're more stuck in their head. And it's time for you to drop into your heart center and really connect with, what do you want? So yes, you're feeling obligated to do this. Yes, you'll feel guilty if you don't do that. Yes, you're setting expectations, or people have expectations of you. But if they're not serving you, If they're not yours because they're coming through your DNA as part of your identity from past obligations, if you've carried them forward through karmic obligations, through past lives, then why don't we just karma complete? Releasing it from your DNA and filling up your DNA with freedom and with love and with compassion and with fun. And that sort of makes me feel all tingly, which is something that you can do for yourself. You just make the decision that it served you until now, and it served your past generations, and it served you in past lifetimes, but it's not serving you anymore. So allow yourself to step into that place and just make a new choice. And then you need to, after that, follow through on those choices by stepping into that personal power and confidence, and stepping into that place of taking inspired action based on the emotions that you want to have and the emotions you want to feel, because that is how you create new steps. You take inspired actions based on what you desire, not on what you fear. So stepping into that for me. So I do work in the Akashic Records, which is why I do a lot of stuff with past life and with ancestry and things like that. So if this is resonating with you, but you want to work with me on a more personal level, then I'll leave the information below, because I definitely do that with people, and it's extremely liberating, and it can release pain in the physical body very quickly, and it can teach you very quickly how to check in with those same things and release them on your own. I'm getting the sense that there's confusion around that. So because my sinuses just all of a sudden went, what? So many of us believe that physical things happen only on a physical nature. But I believe that we have the physical body where we show the signs and symptoms, but I also believe that the mental patterns, the thoughts and beliefs that we have impact the physical. And I also believe that the emotions that we have impact our thoughts and beliefs and the physical. And I also believe that our connectedness to our higher self and our source, and our connection to our spirit guides and our angels and all that is, definitely has stuff to do with the emotions that we're feeling, and the logic and the beliefs and the thoughts that we're thinking, and the physical pains and the signs and the symptoms. And some things need to be released from a physical nature, and other things, they just don't. You can release them logically, you can release them emotionally, you can release them karmically, you can release them through generations just by thinking and feeling and intending, because focus is important. Focus is law of attraction. Emotions is law of attraction. It's universal law that these things work. So if you're called to release some things on a more personal nature, let me know. So let's see what Spirit has for us. We actually got one card in the upright. Yay! The other two are in reverse. So the upright card that came through was the Fool card. And it actually came through with the Fool looking towards the past in this picture. And all the Fool has is what he or she is carrying on their back, standing up on this big hill, moving forward as though looking to the past to say, it's easy for me to release, it's easy for me to move forward only with the clothes on my back and what I'm carrying in this one little satchel. It's easy for me to allow flowers to go into the future. It's easy for me to look back and know that I am releasing things. And the 0 is about, when it comes to numerology, I see the 0, like when you're looking at your life path, and your life path maybe adds to 10, then 0 is like your innate gifts and talents. And those are some of the things I pull out from the Akashic Record for people. But you have your own talents, you have your own gifts, you have your own connectedness to your source and your higher self and your human self, and things, what goes around comes around. So that 0 is a connection, just like the 8 is a connection. But the 0 is a little bit different than the 8. I see the 8 as being a swooping through the heart, if we were to connect the above and below, or through the solar plexus, which I think is where most of us actually need the connectedness, of the overlapping of the 8 over this next couple of weeks is actually in that solar plexus area rather than in the heart center. But I get the sense that Spirit is saying it's okay for you to release what's not serving you. It's okay for you to move forward with less, to say goodbye to those things that that you no longer need, those things that aren't yours, and know that you're being led by spirit, that you're not alone, that the light is going to shine on you, that you're totally capable, that you can do it. And let's see, these two cards that came in reverse. One of them is the Hanged Man in reverse, and it's the back side. And this one is the two. What is the two? I'm going to look that up. One is the Magician. Oh, the two is the back of the High Priestess. Interesting. All right, so I'm going to read this one. So this is the High Priestess card. There are two very large cups behind her. One of them is blue, which makes me think it's going to be a lot of communication that you are dealing with. And the red makes me think that you need to be, it's more pink than red, so it makes me think you need to be in a really heart-centered place as you're communicating with others over this Mercury retrograde, which is going to be important. This too makes me think of the 11, so you're actually going within. There is a gold and a silver. It looks like gold and silver key, which actually makes me think of this card that we got at the very beginning, where she was pouring back and forth between the balance of the harmony with the silver and the gold. And I get the sense here that there's also a silver and a gold key. And that almost makes me think one of them has to do with night, and one of them has to do with day, and one of them has to do with masculine, and one has to do with feminine. But it did come in upside down and in reverse. So let's see what this says. The inner temple is forbidden to those who are not ready and willing to comprehend its mysteries. Two braziers burn with sacred fires beside a pool of dark water. A knot of Isis symbol is carved on the back of the High Priestess's throne. She's the sacred feminine that connects the earthly spirit and the eternal soul. She brings mystical knowledge forth into the light of day, born in the deep moonlight waters of women's wisdom. So the two is definitely about going within. It's definitely about deciding what it is that you want, what you deserve, what you're choosing to carry forward, what emotions you want to express or not, which ones you, what thought patterns you want to have. It's about choice for me. And it's about connecting in. The two makes me think connecting the masculine and feminine, connecting the highest self and the human self, connecting and balancing many things. So this card in reverse makes me think this has not quite happened. When it's not in reverse, it says you've passed through challenging initiation tasks and have been admitted to the inner temple. So I get the sense that you're not quite there yet, that you're going to be moving into this inner temple as we go through Mercury retrograde. Take some time to reflect upon what you have recently learned. And so that makes me think take some time to actually journal what it is you are learning. And if you haven't been paying attention to the previous 2 weeks before Mercury retrograde begins, then allow yourself to think about what has been coming up for the last week and a half over the next couple of days, because those are the things that you're going to be healing through communication while Mercury is retrograde. So sit with any fears until it dissolves away. And this makes me think anger as well, because the red heat in the pots. The two keys of knowledge are now yours for the taking, the gold key of worldly matters and the silver key of mystical matters. You have proven yourself worthy of the mysteries. And so that makes me think that you're going to be proving yourself worthy of the mysteries, and it's up to you which key you want to use when and how you want to use them, and how you want to allow yourself to speak to yourself and to others with the communication and with that sense of the pink flame there. And I also have the Fool card in reverse, and two gentlemen looking up at the Fool. He actually looks quite content, just hanging there looking up at the sky, as though he's got all day. It's very an interesting card. It's also interesting how the cards mean something different to me when I read them, because sometimes I see them and I see different things, and so I don't necessarily read them the same way every time. But this definitely makes me think there's some heart-centeredness and some throat-centeredness and some sense of looking to the source or the spirit or all it is, because it's definitely a dark night, a dark starry night where everything is connected and we're going within. Because this is a 10-2 card, it makes me think the 10 is the part of the new beginning, and the 2 is actually the 11 and going within. And I get that that's a 12, and it reduces down to confidence and solar plexus. So it's as though you're ready, and it's just time to take that next step. It's just time to heal what's next in line. It's time to go within. The two sides of the Hanged Man card can be seen as exaltation and inhalation, metaphorically speaking. That is part of that solar plexus thing that I keep feeling, because the solar plexus stickiness is where the diaphragm actually comes down. So when the diaphragm functions, this is what it looks like when we're actually breathing all of the air out of the lungs, and it actually does this. And so it does this cave as it allows the air to come in and fill up, and then it does this sort of balloon thing as it pushes the air back up. So I get the sense that many of us are really not breathing that well. And in order for things to like circulate and for things to move within the body, we actually need to breathe. In order to bring in that vital source energy, we literally need to breathe. So allow yourself to take some extra time to breathe if you haven't been doing that, in order to release what's no longer serving you, in order to expand your self-confidence, in order to bring new things into your life, exhaling away what you don't need and inhaling what you do. I'm just checking in to see. The 11 is definitely about going within. There were a lot of messages about combining the masculine and the feminine and balancing things. And I get the sense from the different keys and the idea of her moving things through the cup that it's actually a process that requires movement, that it isn't just going to be the Buddha sitting on the mountaintop kind of 3-week period. It's actually going to be, yeah, the hair on my arms is standing up. It's actually going to be a taking action Mercury retrograde, where we're literally going to be doing things. And I'm actually picturing some people like cleaning out the garage and cleaning out the drawers in the house and releasing things that you may be hoarding. And I get the sense that some of that is going to bring up issues of communication. So, yep, digestion. You'll be digesting things as well as you come into contact physically or tactilely with things that you're finding as you're cleaning the garage. Then that's going to trigger inspired action for you to call someone and say, hey, I've had this for like 20 years. Do you want it back? Otherwise, it's going to the Salvation Army. Hey, this made me think of you. So maybe you're writing letters to people. Maybe you're sending texts. Maybe you're just releasing things and sending it away, or you're selling them on eBay or on Kijiji or wherever it is that you get rid of things that you don't need. And as you're doing that, the process of healing is actually happening without you having to connect with on a phone or a text or a physical level with people. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to communicate with people, but I get the sense that this is going to be active for you, that you're going to be doing things, that you're going to be stirring the pot, getting rid of clothes that don't fit you, clearing out like the kids' rooms, bringing in things that you are more in love with, like and bright things, and like spring happens in the middle of this, and we get into Aries where we're planting all those seeds, and the flowers are going to start coming out and all of that. So it's an active, moving period, but it's also very balancing. It's also cultivating the joy within you. That makes me think of hummingbirds and cultivating more sweetness. And maple sugar just came up for some reason, so I'm not sure why that's coming up for some people, but it could be a sense of bringing more sweetness in, a sense that I feel like it is going to be tactile for many of you, and that is going to trigger the emotional stuff that needs to be released. And as you release it physically, it's going to be easier for you to release it mentally, emotionally, logically. And as you're releasing things physically, allow yourself to thank the experience or thank the person, and to think about the person who is receiving that thing as, boy, this person is so lucky they're getting this wonderful thing. So you're actually sending some love and some appreciation with those things that you're releasing, rather than keeping those emotions of anger, like, oh, I'm so glad I'm getting rid of this crap. Like, that makes me think that you're giving other people crap, and then that's just like um, allowing the same energy to be cultivated in someone else's garden. And so see if you can release that, and release the energy around things as you are releasing them out of your nature, so that they can be transformed as someone else is picking them up, and as someone else is moving into appreciation for receiving them. That's quite a bit. I think that's probably enough information for you. If you have any comments or questions, let me know. If you want to do any personal healing with me, let me know. I will be doing, because Cancer and Aquarius have both been quite loud in my ears, and so I haven't done the March videos for those two yet. I'll be doing those likely today, so stay tuned for those. If you have any comments or questions, or if you're inspired to share, go ahead and do that. I'd greatly appreciate that. So namaste. Have a fabulous finishing up of your weekend, because we're just moving into the end of the weekend. Some people are moving into March break this week, so if you get to spend some time with your family, allow yourself to enjoy that time, to see it with new light, and to allow yourself to do things that feel better, and feel more free, and feel more balanced. And releasing any confusion that you're feeling. I'm still feeling a little bit of confusion stirred up in here. Usually when we have issues with our sinuses, it has to do with confusion, where we're sort of blocking that sense of thinking things logically and allowing ourselves to feel. The same way that happens in the back, it's happening in the front. And so the confusion in here could be a confusion about how to move forward with that. And the confusion in the back, or the tightness in the back, is like it's a disconnectedness between logic and heart-centeredness about the past, and about things that have happened behind us. So allowing that area to release, allow yourself to call in the clarity, allow yourself to call in the I'm just going to do what feels good, or call in the clarity of, I already know what the answer is. I already know how to find the answer. This is going to be easy. This is going to be fun. Calling in that information, allowing yourself to speak your truth. And if that isn't appropriate for some reason, write it down. And if you need to release it, just set it on fire, or just rip it up to shreds, and allow it to be released in some way that feels good, if it's something that you journal. Expanding your breath, exhaling away anything that's no longer serving you, and making sure you're filling that space with something good. So you're going to inhale what is serving you. So namaste. Have a beautiful day wherever you are.